Hey everyone, welcome to the Giving Town podcast, brought to you by the Joyful Roberts Group, a Newburgh-based family real estate team where we help your family make the right move. I'm your host, Danielle Roberts, and today I'm going to be sharing my conversation with Scott Bradley about Five Rock Ranch. This conversation actually took place over a month ago, but it's just now being published because I've been away from work, spending time with my family and newborn daughter. Fun times. So Five Rock Ranch is a nonprofit located on a 108-acre property here in Yamhill County that provides a place of healing and refuge for families and individuals going through difficult circumstances. In today's episode, Scott shares how the ranch got started and the vision behind it, the kinds of experiences and programs they offer for kids and families, stories of lives that have been impacted and transformed, why spaces like this are so needed in today's world, some unique challenges being faced by the ranch, and how you can get involved and support the mission. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, well, Scott, thanks so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to talking about Five Rock Ranch, a little bit about its story, and then just kind of sharing this with our community.
Oh, thank you. Good to be here.
Absolutely. So we'll just jump right into it. So for people who are unfamiliar, maybe they've heard of Five Rock Ranch. I think I've heard the name really probably the first year I moved to Newburgh 15 years ago, but never really had an understanding of what it was because there's a lot of different things that happen out there.
Yeah.
So for someone who's never heard of Five Rock Ranch, how would you explain it to someone?
We explain it, first of all, we're a domestic mission. Our mission is to restore faith, hope, and love to the fatherless and the floundering through Jesus. It's the old Flying M Ranch. We acquired it in 2006, so we're just going into our 20th year. The main focus of the ranch is to rescue or bring in single moms with kids who are in distress. They come into us through DHS. We help with DHS when kids are taken away. We come in through the jails, through drug rehab. It's just single moms with kids that are in a distress situation. And then they come to go on a biblical journey. Then the next thing we do is rescues. So people that are in domestic violence, sex trafficked, whatever, we work with police departments. We work with agencies to take in those victims, and we kind of hide them. We're a lily pad for them. We're a safe place while that agency finds a long-term solution for them. The other thing that we do is take in floundering adults. Our men's housing is down right now, so we're only doing ladies. Our men's housing is being redone as we speak. But the ladies who come, they're oftentimes moms without their children, and they come on the same journey. And a floundering adult is someone who's stuck in a situation. They're not drowning, but they can't swim out of their situation. Oftentimes it's either drugs or it's an abusive situation. They just keep going back to. And again, we work with churches, we work with police department, law enforcement agencies, jails, and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. And how did it get started originally? It's been about 20 years now. Mm-hmm. What led to the original vision to go from just an idea, and how did that spark to then acquiring a ranch? Is quite the step.
It is. It's a crazy story. It starts when I was a kid. I lived down in Southern California. I had an amazing family, a godly family. Dad was a firefighter. He was my hero. A lot of my buddies, their dads took off back then in the 70s and drugs and so forth. So I was allowed to I had a dad and I had a great home, so I had shared my home. My parents were crazy enough to let my friends come live with us. And they just kind of joined a Christian family. They'd move in with us and go to church with us, so forth. A lot of them, their lives were changed. And then when I got into college, I grew up here in Oregon State. I wanted to play pro ball, but I got hurt, so I lost my career. But I got into campus life, so that's in Oregon, and I didn't really follow the model of campus life to get the cheerleader and the quarterback and have a big meeting. Nothing wrong with that. But I was more attracted to the guys smoking a joint under the oak tree, or the promiscuous gal that was lost or being abused. And so we started taking in runaways. And so we did it out of our home for 28 years, to answer your question.
And who was we at this point?
My wife, Christy, and I.
Okay.
Only been married 48 years. We have 3 boys and 1 daughter. And so we have taken in a lot of people over the 28 years. And God gave me a vision to do a ranch about 28 years before we got it. Went to my pastor. He said, well, if God's giving you that vision, just hang on to it. So I hung on to it for 28 years. And then we had a miraculous story happen. We owned a business in downtown Portland, and some godly men came to me and said, I think you need to proceed your ranch idea. And it's too long a story for your podcast, but basically, the Lord told me to sell everything and be ready to move in 3 years. So we sold everything we had. And 2 years and 8 months later, we miraculously were given the old Flying M Ranch for $1 a year. Wow. So, yeah, and it's a God story. It really is, because a man had gotten involved with the Flying M Ranch, trying to help them out, and it was going into foreclosure. And I got that man involved with Flying M, so it was a bad deal. We didn't even want to talk about it. And these men came along and said, hey, I think you need to proceed your ranch idea. And I'm like, no, I must have had that wrong. It's been 28 years. And 2 of the men said, I think you should proceed to talk to this gentleman about Flying M Ranch. I'm like, I'm not going to talk to her about that. That's a bad deal. And so they said that was my pride. So I prayed about it. And on the next day, I called them, or he called me, and I said, hey, I want to tell you this story. He said, great. Long story short, he said, let's do that. And then I was like, what are you talking about? He bought out the Flying M Ranch note, and he said, let's pay the back taxes. Let's see what Jesus is up to. Huh. And I said, well, when am I going to be able to pay you back the $2.5 million? He said, well, let's think about that. I'll get back to you. And a couple of months later, he said, we'll just lease it to you for $1 a year. And been doing that for 20 years.
Wow.
So that's how we got the ranch. I sat down and said, Lord, what do you want to do with this? Because we usually take people into our home. Now we have a dude ranch with 9 cabins and a 24-room bunkhouse motel and a 25,000 square foot lodge. So basically, we just expanded what we did in the home. So not to get too far off your question, what happens is, just like we would take someone who was floundering into our home, now we do it on a bigger scale at the ranch. And we just like to say that our hallways to our rooms are outdoors, because everybody has a cabin. So, but that's how we got it. It was in November 2006.
Hey everyone, quick break from the episode. The Giving Town podcast is brought to you by my real estate team, the Joyful Roberts Group. We're a family-run business located in Newburgh, and we are passionate about serving and advising our clients at the highest level possible. Our goal is to serve you with excellence, get you the results you're looking for, and help you enjoy the process. If you've appreciated this podcast, the best way you can help us out is by introducing us to any of your friends and family who are thinking about buying or selling a home anywhere within 45 minutes of Newburgh. All right, thanks for listening, and back to the show. And what kind of other programs do you guys have? Because it's more than just that. Because I think what I'd heard of it as, I knew it was a ranch, and people could do different things, or I believe like youth programs and special events that would happen. Is that right?
Yeah, let me kind of go through our 5 R's, for 5 rocks. First and foremost, the core is to take in single moms with kids. The single mom who's in that situation, they apply to us. Here's my situation. We're not for everybody, but here's my situation. My kids are split up or whatever. It's a really hard story. And then we invite them to come to the ranch. And we ask for a 1-year commitment. So the single mom and her kids come, and they go to the Yamhill County schools. And so a day in the life of a single mom is she sees her kids off in the morning, And most of the homes are broken and dysfunctional, so we try to teach them how to have a healthy morning routine with their kids, as we deal a lot with people who've done drug addiction, alcohol addiction, abuse, things like that. So they wake up and have a morning routine. Kids get on the school bus, go to Yamhill County. The moms then have a beautiful place to lodge, to sit and have a devotion. They do that on their own. We call it Praise Cafe. We want to teach them the habit of morning devotion. Then they have a short break, and then they go up to the journey room, which my daughter Shay runs that, and she's a women's ministry leader, and they do 3 to 4 hours of a Bible study. But it's not just a random Bible study. There's the journey is to be restored to Jesus, renewed through Jesus, and established in Jesus. So they'll see Bible studies. We don't teach. We use known Bible teachers like Skip Heitzig and Jack Hibbs and Greg Laurie and people like that. They watch a teaching. They spend 45 minutes or so reflecting on that Bible teaching, and then they get together with my daughter and talk about that Bible teaching, because we believe your issue is not your issue. Your issue is with your relationship to God. So it's all to be restored to Jesus. And then around the Christmas break, it switches to being renewed through Jesus. So we use the book of Exodus. We use the journey that the children of Israel used and how it relates to our journey in life. And they go through it. Then we also do moms without kids, and they do exactly the same thing. The difference is they would have kids or morning routine, afternoon routine. After the journey, they have lunch. The ladies have lunch. And then they have life skills. Again, a lot of our moms didn't grow up in a situation where they understand typical life skills. So it's not just chores. We're actually teaching them how to do stuff. And it could be everything from showing up on time, having responsibility, how to take care of equipment, but to genuine skills. So we have a lot of volunteers come in and do cooking classes and domestic classes, but also special skills classes that they want to learn how to do. Then the kids get home from school. We give them a break so they can be like a stay-at-home mom. So we want them to grow in as moms and rebuild the relationship with the kids. So around 3 o'clock, the ladies are off. They have real free time. The school bus shows up. They get to greet the kids. We do a homework club, because a lot of our moms, because of their life, only have a 7th grade education or 10th grade education. So we have tutors and stuff to help them with their kids and their schoolwork, but they're also learning too. Then they all go back to their own cabins and have dinner and family time and rinse and repeat. That's your Friday. The other thing we do is rescues. So that would be people calling us, agencies calling us. We do California, we do Washington, Idaho. We do quite a ways away where people have a domestic violence victim and they need to find a safe haven for them. And they're usually there 2 weeks to a month. And they generally just blend into what the ladies are going through. And a lot of them say, hey, can I stay here? Because I need this. Then once a quarter, we do a thing called Thrive. And that's a women's retreat for women who can't move out, single moms or ladies who can't go on our journey, the biblical journey. It doesn't have any secret sauce. It's just a biblical journey, but it's an intentional time to get away. So Shay has about 30 to 35 women that will sign up for Thrive, and they come out for the weekend. They have a session. They come for dinner. They have a Bible session that night, and then they spend the night. They each have their rooms, the boathouse, and they have a breakfast, morning session, lunch, and afternoon session. They go home. And those have become super popular. So it's a very unique Bible study because it's an intense women's retreat without the entertainment, so to speak.
Yeah.
I do a thing called JOLT for men, JOLT for men, and it stands for Jesus Our Lord Time. And it's the same thing as like Thrive. So I like to limit it to about 24 men. They come out, and it's meant to just disciple. It's meant to just kind of wake men up in their faith. These are men that just say, I want to take intentional time to seek the Lord. So they come out on a Friday, and we have dinner at 6. We have a session that night of a Bible teaching. They watch it. We talk about it. We just did one on spiritual warfare. And so we do that. So we also do retreats. So we'll do church retreats, women's retreats, men's retreats. We do retreats that we've taken back for a while, but we're going to go back to. We do an advanced camp for young men. Our focus, our ministry is fatherlessness. We're all about fatherlessness, and we can get into that in a little bit, but we do advanced camp for young men. So we bring out young men that are fatherless, and we teach them things that dad would have taught them. Mm-hmm. So we might do fishing. We might do woodworking. We might do how to change oil in the car. It all stemmed from one of our moms has a son named Sammy, and they left the ranch, and family's doing great. They pulled over one time and said she had a flat tire. She said, "Sammy, you're a man. Get out and change the tire." And he was about 17. Mm-hmm. He started crying. He said, "Well, I don't have a dad. Nobody ever showed me how to change a tire." Mm-hmm. And from that minute on, we started this advanced camp for young men. And so
looks like I need to show my son how to change a tire.
Exactly. And one of our guys, Chad Wallen, he loved that. He used to help us, and he's taken that into many states now. So there is an advanced camp out there that Chad runs. He runs it out of Texas, but he does it in Oregon and different states. So we do, when our men's housing is up, we tore it down, and we've been donated some modular homes. When that's back up and running, we also do men that are floundering, but that want to be discipled, that say, "Hey, I've gone to rehab, I've tried counseling, I've tried this." None of those are bad, but they just still need something more. So maybe I'll give Jesus a chance. So they come out to the ranch just like the ladies, but they're on a 1-year program. They're at the opposite end of the ranch. We have real strict boundaries. And they do their life skills during the day in the morning.
Okay.
While the ladies are in journey. And then after lunch, the men will do journey while the ladies are in life skills. So the ranch is 108 acres, so it's sort of big. We can split those two programs and run them on the same place. They're at the opposite ends of the ranch.
That is pretty big. Yeah, we went out there. The first time I was actually out there was for something our church was doing, and I can certainly see how it would be used as a safe haven, because if you don't know where you're going, it's easy to get lost.
It is.
It's a bit of a ways out there. But yeah, go ahead and continue. 108 acres. That's pretty big.
So so the solitude you talk about, the solitude is really important as to what we do. There's many stories of our residents who life just got too big and they needed to, like the Bible says, get away, and to have a time of solitude. The ranch is really unique that way. It's a place for people to do a very, very hard thing. And that is to face the issues that are making life so bad. And so it's pretty magical that way. So we do residents, men and women, but right now in the men's housing is down. We do rescues, and then we do retreats, and then we do respites. So respites, the ranch is kind of like it's a place like in Bend where you go like Sun River or something for single moms. They can literally come to Five Rock Ranch and stay for free. So all they have to do is call the office and say, "I'm a single mom. and I need a break. And they love it because they come out there and they get the fellowship with other single moms. And the kids get to hang out with similar situations where with fatherless families. And we have a lot of activities that we try to do out there, but it's really a respite place, safe havens for single moms. A single mom, it's just not fair these days. I mean, they usually have 2 jobs and trying to make ends meet. There's no help with the dad. And I'm not beating on dads. I'm just saying it's a broken model. It doesn't work. Statistics on fatherless right now, the fatherlessness right now in the United States is higher than it's ever been measured in society ever. Many cultures don't have it. Jewish culture doesn't have it because in their culture, no kid is left. If your brother dies or something, then the family takes that in. And in our culture here, it's huge. The last statistic I read was 8 out of 10 young men below the age of 18 don't live with their biological dad.
8 out of 10?
Yeah, it's super high. Right now, I think the national statistic is right around 48, depending on which one you read, 48 to 50% fatherless rate in our country.
Wait, so I just want to clarify. So 48 to 50% is fatherless, but 8 out of 10 is young men who are not living with their biological father.
Yeah, it's a really high rate. So if you take the fatherless situation, we know the impact it makes on a man because they learn how to be a man from their dad. And their daughters get the intimacy from their dad. Just like a daughter learns how to be a woman from her mom and gets intimacy from dad. So with that out of the picture, that's bad enough. But then you start adding all the dysfunction of several different guys involved in life, no one committed. I believe God had a very specific role for dads to play both in their sons' lives and in their daughters' lives, besides being a good husband. So fatherlessness for us is a giant topic that would take several podcasts where I talk about that.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's because I also have a heart for that. And I think culture at large, without getting really into the debate about gender roles, but there is a push against, like, well, what's the difference between a mom and dad anyway? A mom can make a dad and a dad can make a mom. And there's a kind of a pushback against, like, well, fathers aren't really all that, aren't all that important, which then there's not as much of a priority, and then you have more fatherlessness. But I mean, how do you deal with that? Because there's a lot of people who have that perspective.
Well, first, I would really highly recommend looking up the National Center for Fathering. They've been at it for a long time, and it gives a lot of resources to that. And there's many, many other ministries that are addressing this situation. Research says that you can tie every social ill back to fatherlessness. Crime rates and everything come back to the broken home. Focus on the family's been doing it for a long time. We work with the National Center for Fathering that, like, we just got trained on the father-daughter summits, and we haven't started them yet, but we want to have father-daughter summits because dads don't know how to have a good relationship with their daughter, and research shows, and I don't have all that memorized in here with you, but research shows the impact a dad can make on their daughter. We know for a son, the approval of dad, the approval of a daughter, all those things take place. What we're trying to do is facilitate. We want to facilitate a broken family, but we also want to be proactive and facilitate a godly family, or even just a family that's together, how to stay together. So we do some marriage stuff. That's not our focus, but we're doing that proactively. We want to do a father-daughter summit because that will be proactively. So we work both with reactive to the broken family and kind of the mess that it's turned into. How do we get them back on a healthy ground? And then we want to work proactively to keep a family healthy wherever we can. Oftentimes that's just doing the things like Jolt or doing things like Thrive, doing retreats and events at the ranch. We do public barbecues and stuff, have people come out. And we just want to facilitate, if that makes any sense. We're not counselors, we're disciplers. We're not there to give therapy. We're there to facilitate them going on a biblical journey because we're a Christian organization. We are a not-for-profit charity, but we make no bones about that. We're a mission, and our mission is to restore faith, hope, and love to the fatherless and the floundering through Jesus. We really, really believe that's done through the Word of God, and not to over spiritualize it, but that's what we really believe.
Yeah. So the 5 hours you've got, let's see if I can, the retreat, rescue, what was the first one? Was residence, retreat, rescue, respite, and then 5 was...
The other one is it's also resident. I always call the first one resident, but it's refuge.
Okay.
So the one I told you about where we have residence, it's actually refuge.
Okay.
So a single mom or kids going, I need refuge, a rescue saying, I need refuge. The 5th one is a resident. So we're looking for people who have a heart of a missionary that see what Jesus is doing there and they want to come out and serve and live there. So we have live-in volunteers who say, hey, I want to come out for a year and serve, which we would love. So if you have a heart for that, please let us know.
It is most of the work done by volunteers, or are there also staff on the team?
It's by far the volunteers. There's only 4 staff members, and we have 3 what we call team members. The difference there is just leadership versus just managing. And then the rest is volunteers. Yeah. We have a great volunteer group. So we would not be able to do it without our volunteers, for sure.
Yeah. What is the main source of revenue for the organization?
Wow, that's a great question. We're weird. There's a book out of George Mueller. Mueller from the 1800s. So when we started in Five Rock Ranch, I sat there and I had a 108-acre broken down dude ranch. We lease it for $1 a year. I just said, Lord, what do you want to do?
And this is before you had the name Five Rock Ranch too, right? Before anything.
It was called Rugged Cross Ranch then.
Okay.
And I'll get to that. But I just sat there and I was just overwhelmed. Lord, what am I supposed to do here? The electric bill is $4,000 a month. And I didn't have any money. We just got this thing and here we are. And clearly I know the Lord said, don't fundraise. Do not do fundraising. Just go on faith. Pray about it. Let people know you need. I'll provide it. So the ranch runs 100% of the faith. It's about $500,000 a year. I tell undeniably God's stories. We have incredible stories that you say, that had to be God. Doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not. You just go, there's no way to explain that except God, which I could tell you a couple. And the Word said, just tell what I'm doing there, and I will bring people that go, I see what Jesus is doing there, and I'll give my time, talent, or my treasure. And that's how we ran on faith for 20 years. It's a miracle.
And who's George Mueller, for someone who maybe hasn't heard that name?
He was a guy in the 1800s that felt like the Lord told him to do orphanages. So he built an orphanage, and it wasn't just for the kids. He said it was to demonstrate that God is a prayer-answering God. So what he did is he built these orphanages, And it's public domain if you look up his journal. Because he says, as long as you don't change it, you can have it for free. And he has all these stories where there's these children in this orphanage in the 1800s, and there was no food. They ran out of food. And they sat down with the kids and he prayed. And he said, Lord, we just pray you bless the food that you're going to bring. 1800s, knock on the door, snowstorm, a guy with a wagon with his food says, hey, my horse just went lame. I got all these hams and everything. It's going to go bad. Can you guys use it? And he has hundreds of those kinds of stories. So that's George Mueller in a nutshell. And now there's, I believe, 100 orphanages in England, and they're still doing the same thing. So his name is George Mueller. And so someone came to the ranch and says, how do you fund this thing? I said, well, we just pray, and we let people know our need, and then we pray, and we have crazy stories. He goes, man, you're like George Mueller. I didn't know what George Mueller was either. So he read about it, and I thought, wow, okay, we're like George Mueller. So we're 100% faith-funded. We have a newsletter, and we'll tell people, like right now we're praying for a new roof on the bunkhouse, $135,000. We have no idea how that's going to happen. We have no idea whatsoever. But let me tell you one fast, fun story. So we had a gentleman, his name was Wade, and he was with another ministry in Portland, and he heard about all these crazy miracles that Jesus is doing out at this crazy place called Five Rock Ranch. And he says, hey, can I come out and just hang out? I said, sure. So he came out, and he says, well, while I'm here, can I help? And I said, yeah, I got a group of guys out doing brush. They're out cleaning brush. You're welcome to go out there. They probably need kind of a leader. So he went out there, and he comes back all sweaty, and he says, hey, you know what you could really use out here is a chipper, like 2 chippers. He specifically said these 2 chippers, like you buy at Home Depot, and because then we can chip all the brush and put it on pathways, and we had a horse suspected, and put it in sauce. I said, great. He says, what do we do? I said, well, we pray. He goes, well, of course we pray. So in my office, we prayed. And then a couple of days go by, and Wade comes into my office all sweaty. He goes, you're not going to believe what just happened. I said, what happened? He says, some guy comes down Flying Road, and he misses the turnoff into the parking lot to the lodge, and goes, he comes out to us. He's got this car with a trunk all lifted up. He says, hey, where's that new Five Rock Ranch? And he said, well, you're here. You probably need to go over there to the office. And I love the way he told the story. He said, I said, well, he asked him, well, what are you here for? He says, well, I was cleaning up my garage, and I got these 2 chippers in my trunk. He goes, yeah, those would go right here. So they unloaded the chippers, started in, and he came in my office and told me that story, because that's unbelievable. Like, that is crazy. I said, wait, it happens here all the time. When we first started, we didn't know what we were going to do about the kitchen. And that we have a big commercial kitchen. And we just started, newspaper did an article on this, and 2 pastors were there, were kind of checking us out, like, what are you guys going to do? And we were sitting by the fire. All the lights were out because of my electric bill. Then they said, what are you going to do about that kitchen? You know, that's like a big kitchen. You got to have somebody run that, and that's going to cost you a fortune. The kitchens put people out of business. All I said to these 2 pastors was, look, if I need somebody to do that, then God will send them through the door. They're like, okay, they're kind of looking at me like I'm cuckoo, you know. Well, while we're talking about Bible study stuff, in walks this little short guy, his name Flurry, with a hammer. And he shows up and he says, hey, I read the article by guys. I love what you're doing, and I want to help. And I said, oh, great. I said, what do you do? He said, well, I ran the kitchen for Multnomah School of Bible for 30 years. I just got forced into retirement. And these 2 pastors look at me and they go, we're good. No, we're good. We'll leave you guys to talk. And Larry ran our kitchen ministry for about 6 years. He's in heaven now, but his wife says, well, most favorite times of his whole life.
Wow.
Was there. And I'll stop there, but we have hundreds of those kind of stories. It's a Jesus place for sure.
Wow. You know, it's funny looking back over just in my own career in business. Real estate is one of those feast or famine type of things too. And there's been a lot of those kinds of stories but it's interesting because I say, God always provides, but it's really hard to budget on miracles.
Yeah. Well, I think we did.
Yeah, it's okay. How's this going to work? It's interesting because this isn't a Christian podcast per se, but obviously you and I both believe in the reality of God and that Jesus works, and it's kind of it kind of spins the mind of someone who's not doesn't believe, and they may chalk it up to the universe just kind of the universe has a way, or the law of attraction, or whatever. And I guess there's just kind of that maybe is the gateway drug into into God. But I'm sure you deal with a lot of those people too on the ranch that maybe they're not necessarily Christian. And do you require someone to sign like a statement of faith or anything, or can anyone who's in a hardship come? How do people grapple with some of these things? And maybe they had a father who was abusive, and they were forced into religious practices that traumatized them. I mean, I'm sure you get some of those people.
That's our group. We have them sign a statement of faith, not that they have to agree with it, but they know what they're getting into. We do not require that they can be atheists. We have a lot of atheists that say, man, I've tried everything. I still try the God thing. We just want them to know what they're getting into. The example I use is if the Amish allowed us to go to an Amish place, even though I wasn't Amish, they would know that the place is going to run like an Amish place, right? So I want them to know that, hey, this is what they're getting into. We study the Bible, we pray, and this is where, but yes, you're welcome to come. And so people do that. And they actually come to a belief in Jesus because they see it firsthand. They get to read the word, they get to run their own, but they're not required to. And we don't, what's that been known as, proselytize?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't do that. We make no bones about where we stand, but at the same time, you have a voice to say where you stand. And it actually lends itself to great open discussions about what is the truth. So I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I'm sure we'll get to one of those, some of those stories maybe about how like you've seen people who have come through and have been transformed. But I think you answered. I was going to ask how people get connected with the ranch. I think you kind of explained that, but maybe someone who wants to come out and do a group or get a part, join one of the programs, how can people get involved there?
In today's world, it's easy to do the website. We have a I need help button. So if you need help, if you're someone who says, no, I need the ranch ministry, you just click on the I need help button. And we basically say, what's your name? How are we going to hold it? You can, in a nutshell, what's your situation? It takes 5 minutes to fill out. So it's like the Staples easy button, right? If you wanted to do a retreat or anything like that, it's all there too. You can just contact us via email or call 503-662-5678. And we can arrange that for you, whether it's a church retreat or that kind of thing. We just had a new website done, so I'm super excited to check out our new website. It's supposed to go live any day.
Oh, nice.
How people find us, though, is the most common question we get, is how do people find us? 99.9% is referral. People write in, I didn't even know about you until I needed you. And so that most of it is churches. We work a lot with the jails. We work a lot with law enforcement. We are a very unique place in the sense of we've had someone go through rehab 17 times and it didn't help. So they came out like, I've been through rehab 17 times. Nothing against rehab, but for whatever reason, the spiritual impact of Jesus made the difference. We deal a lot of situations where people have gone to counseling for a long time. We just believe that Jesus is the solution. And I know this isn't a Christian broadcast, but we really believe that is the solution. And many skeptics come out and they want to challenge that. And we offer to people, as long as we know you're coming, because we are a safe place, we welcome visitors. We welcome you to let the ranch speak for itself. Come out and see it, touch it, feel it, talk to the people, because it's a unique place.
Yeah. How has the ranch changed over time? I mean, you mentioned some of the things that you've got there. Like, oh my gosh, this is daunting to now what it is today.
I thought about that when you told me you might ask me that. Physically, the ranch has changed very little. We've had to log the property, so I know that's not that important, but there are some physical things. We had to log the property because the trees were getting overripe, but limbs were falling and so forth. Practically, the buildings are getting older, and so we have way more capital improvements. So this year, our focus, it's always been on the ministry. It's always been on the people. It's always been on taking care of the sheep, so to speak. But now we're having to take care of capital improvements. So we have roofs and things that are just, it's a beautiful dude ranch, but start to fall apart. Program, we like to tell people we're a ministry, not a program. Yeah. But the structure has changed. You learn over the years. So when we first started, we just kind of went in blind and on faith, and you just start learning. So we've learned what structure works, what structure doesn't work. Sometimes we learn it the hard way, and sometimes we learn it the easy way, the obvious way. So our structure is hard because we want as minimal a structure as we can, but we also want as minimal structure as we need. We want it to be a place that feels comfortable. We don't want it to be as rigid as, say, like if we get someone, a mom that's out of addiction, she wants to come to our place. If she's not really, really stable, we would refer her to a couple places. One would be like Shepherd's Store. We work a lot with Shepherd's Store because their program is a live-in program with a lot more structure, and it's designed to help her get stabilized in her addiction because she's right off the street, let's say, and just not stabilized. But the person who is stabilized enough, we're kind of a minimal structure, if that makes any sense. They have a lot more freedom at Five Rock. They have freedom to go to town, for example. We do a lot of, the ladies all go grocery shopping. They have freedom to visit people more. Where in a traditional rehab, they're more in a lockdown situation or in a blackout situation. We don't do that. So we allow visitors and we allow visitations off the ranch, etc.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that you faced as an organization? I'm sure with dealing with people who have been off the streets and also just kind of coming in blind and having to learn a lot of things. What are some things that you've had to face?
Oh, wow, that is a big question. Let's start with the easy ones. First of all, there's a shock value. So in other words, someone says, I need you, I need you, I need you. I need Five Rock, I need Five Rock, I need help. And they come willingly. And then 48 hours after they're there, they don't like all the rules. It's like, oh, I didn't realize I couldn't smoke cigarettes here, Well, you signed something, you can't smoke cigarettes here. Cigarettes by far are our biggest deal because we don't allow smoking there. But we tell people, you'll have to give up cigarettes so you can come here. So first of all, it's the shock value and helping them get through to going from zero structure out on the street, so to speak, in, say, a drug addiction or whatever, to coming into a place, even with minimum structure, it's structure. The other thing we have is just brokenness brings filters, brings a way of looking at the world. So they kind of come in with their brokenness. And so we're a healthy environment, and that brokenness gets confronted quite a bit. So there's a lot of debate, even argument about that. And I'm trying to think of, for example, showing up on time. It may sound silly, but the fact that you have a structure, that you have a schedule. We have Praise Cafe in the morning, and journeying from 9 to noon, and just that structure can be a conflict. And it can trigger things. It can trigger things from their past. Control. We get accused of control all the time, when it's nothing more than, no, this is just the schedule. The trouble we run into is when you've hit the bottom and you're in need of help. No matter how much we say, okay, if you come here, this is what it's going to look like. It's almost like wishful thinking, like that's great, and then come, but actually doing it's harder. I liken it to a fitness. You hire a trainer, and you go, yeah, I want to get in shape. This is so great. I can't wait till you push me and do all these things. And about week 3, you're going, lighten up, man. They showed the fact up. We get the heartbreaking part are the people who give up. They came, they were desperate, and they leave without giving it a chance. We didn't hope that they did it. We have hundreds, literally, maybe a couple, 2,000 stories of transformed lives, but we also have comparatively a handful of people that are very critical and are angry with us because they didn't like it. So one of the toughest things is we get called names and accused of things. And it hurts because we helped them. We didn't treat them any different than anybody else, but their situation didn't work out that way. So I think the hardest thing is by far that would be the rumors of angry people. And I can't tell you why, but you can have 1,000 testimonies of transformed lives that are undeniably God stories.
Yeah.
And you can have 10 hard stories, and they seem to make more of an impact and noise than the 1,000 good stories.
Yeah. Without getting into the specifics, I know you mentioned, people throw around words like, occult or spiritual abuse or, some of these things. And, we talked about some of these filter things. And how do you balance, like, obviously you mentioned, when you're working with DHS and public schools and sheriff's department and police departments, like it's hard to, it's if you really were doing some of these things, it's hard to, get away with that. But how do you balance the structure and creating a healthy environment with making sure that that is a safe place for people when there is control and if some people think, well, there's not oversight, and if you're as a man having to deal with women, and you have to be sensitive to that, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, our minimum structure does include things like boundaries and rules and so forth. Our biggest deterrent has been full disclosure. We like to tell people if they've heard a bad rumor, like we're a cult or whatever, we ask them to come out, see for themselves, to go firsthand. Look, it will give you a day in the life of Five Rock. We're really proud of what God's doing at Five Rock. They don't have anything to hide. So we're all about just opening the doors, opening the windows, and let people see. And that's been the most powerful thing for us because few people will take us up on that. They'll say, hey, I heard these really bad rumors. And we're like, well, come and see. Come and see. We'd love to. You can ask any question you want. You can meet the people there. You can, if you have a day, you can go through the day. We are a safe place, so you have to pass a background check because we do have vulnerable people there. But Yeah, and then we have public things. We have barbecues, we have open houses, we have events where we try to let people come out and see firsthand. So I guess to answer your question is, one, we get counsel, and we have rules that we should have, appropriateness, boundaries between men and women, boundaries between staff, and we have a board of directors. We have churches that we talk to all the time, and we do not do this in the dark. We don't do this as a solo. We are a ministry that we want to be a ministry, a mission that offers a church something that they can't. Many churches don't have the resources to do. So if you get a single mom in a tragic situation at church, we will work with that church for that mom. So we share that sheep, if you will, with that church. And we're accountable to that church. If we're working with DHS, so if we're putting children back together with their moms, our ministry director, women's ministry director, Shay, she works with DHS all the time. So the DHS agent, I forget what they're called, they come out and they'll meet with the kids, and they'll meet with Shay, and they'll meet with the mom. So we work hand in hand with that. If we work with the courts, we'll take them to probation and all that sort of thing. So we don't work in isolation, and that's a big misconception. If you're called a cult, that gives you that feeling like it's a closed society. We're everything but that. We're not a closed society at all.
What kind of protections or accountability do you, or as a ministry, have on you personally? Just because, I mean, as the leader, there's, someone could say, well, you're doing these things, or maybe you're controlling, and often cult leaders are accountable to no one except themselves. So how do you avoid being in that situation?
It's a great question. So first of all, I have a board of directors. I think we have 8 board of directors now. 2 of them are in law enforcement, pretty soon we'll have 3 in law enforcement. So I'm accountable to them. I report to the board. It's not I'm the founder, but I am accountable to our board of directors. The other thing is we're accountable to our donors and our supporters. So we do, meanwhile, back at the ranch newsletter. So we want to make sure they know about it, but they know about our needs and know about our problems. We also have a group called our prayer posse, and here's things we want to pray about. Personally, I'm accountable to my church. I'm very involved with my church. I'm very involved with the men's ministry. Whenever somebody calls us a name or does a complaint, immediately those things are copied to my church elders, to churches that we are working with, and to my board. So we do nothing in secret. So if I'm personally attacked as a cult leader, however that was, let's say it's a letter. That letter will go to my church elders. It'll go to the elders of the churches that we work closely with, and it goes to my board. I don't want it any other way.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was a ministry, without going into specifics, who recently kind of created a firestorm in Christian circles about, this leader was involved in sexual abuse and lying about things, that for his specific ministry, lying was, people trusted his words a lot.
Yes.
And his board was mostly in on it. They did nothing from my understanding to really stop it. And whether it was he just controlled the board, or it was, they had the same issues. So I think there's a lot of people who are somewhat sensitive to just some of those things, in the light of, when that high level of trust is broken, it creates a mess, and everyone else kind of then gets spotlights on them as well, who could be in any kind of similar position. So I think it's good to have the more accountability, the better.
I can tell you what I do personally. So I will go to the board of directors. Then we work with law enforcement. So I will literally go, and like this last accusation, I actually called the sheriff, Sam Elliott, Yamhill County sheriff. And he came to the ranch. And I said, I want to meet with you here. You're supposed to be an accused. You have full access to the ranch to inspect it, do whatever you want to do. And I also have the same accountability to other law enforcement. If there's a church that's mentioned or whatever, I invite that church. So just come and see it. Come do your own investigation. So we want accountability, because if you lose trust, you lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
You really do. The last time, from 2000, it's probably 8-10 years ago, there was another accusation made. So we not only involved the church and their elders, but we also brought in any kind of counselors or anything that were involved, and we brought in mediation and so forth. We want that accountability. And that's what we find we do. What we did find is you can't always make reconciliation with the accusers, because sometimes it's just unreconcilable. But the importance is that we're accountable. Even though it's unreconcilable, we still have been accountable. Have we done anything wrong? And if we've done anything wrong, we need to be accountable for it.
Absolutely. Coming back now to more of the positive side of things.
Sure.
Can you share a story too about a person or family who's been really transformed through the work you guys do?
Oh, yeah, I can. Someone send it.
Let's see. That's a good question. We're at, oops, that's not the right one. About 15 minutes, maybe a couple minutes. Maybe a shorter end.
2 minutes. It's going to be fast. Okay, the first one that comes to mind is, then I have permission. So first of all, I have to share a story. I have permission, right? So Naomi is my most fun story. So Naomi lives here in Newburgh. She went through a tragic life early here in Newburgh. And so here's how the story goes. We did a single mom's camp that we do every summer. Her mom showed up with the two girls. They were 3 and 6. Her mom was there, and her mom said, "I'm the grandma, I'm about to mow." I said, "Great, where's mom?" She said, "Well, I think she's in Las Vegas." And I said, "How do you know that?" She says, "Well, I get these phone calls, and we think she's a prostitute in Las Vegas. She was a meth addict. She dropped the girls off at our house and then hadn't shown up for 2.5 years." I'm like, wow. And she says, her pimp calls her, "If you don't get her, we'll die. We'll kill her." I said, "Why don't you..."
You said what?
"If you don't come get her, we're going to kill her." And I said, "Wow, why don't you go get her?" She said, "Well, I'm handicapped." So we prayed. So we prayed for Naomi. And 2 weeks later, mom calls us. Naomi's in Los Alamitos, California. "Can you help me get her here?" And I said, "Sure." One of our donors lives in Los Alamitos, California. Crazy story. I sent him the text. He sends it over to his 2 daughters and his wife and says, "Here you go." And you always want to get involved with sex trafficking. So they were literally leaving for the University of Oregon orientation the next day from Los Alamitos, California. Took her away in the car, brought her up. My wife and I picked her up in Eugene. She came to the ranch, and she's super thankful, super thankful. She's just very humble, says, "Thank you, thank you." And the next day, I was with a sheriff deputy. He was in plain clothes. Mark, we're coming over the bridge. And she says, "Hey, I want a blankety blank cigarette." And I said, "No, you know you can't have a cigarette." So she started cussing us out. I want my drugs back. And it turned really ugly. So she left. So she said, "Give me my drugs." Of course, we didn't do. And my wife drove her to town. And she wanted to get hooked up, but she couldn't because she didn't know anybody. So she calls her pimp in Vegas. He flies in to pick her up. She was a high-end escort service. And so she's in this motel here in Newburgh somewhere, and she goes out to have a cigarette, and he was taking a nap, and she hears this voice and said, "If you don't turn your life around, you'll never see your daughters again." So she steals the pimp mobile. That's what I like to call it. So she steals the pimp mobile. She gets arrested, goes to jail for 2 months, and that's when she called me. She said, "Man, God got me in jail." So she lived at the ranch for 3 years. She owns a business now. She's married. Family's all restored. She has no addictions whatsoever. She teaches Bible studies and she mentors ladies. And she's an undeniably gun story. That's the fastest way to do it.
Wow, that was a great use of the 2 minutes. That's very efficient. Wow, that's fascinating. One of the things I keep forgetting that you'd mentioned the name change from Rugged Cross Ranch to Five Rock Ranch. I wanted to circle back real quick to that, how that happened.
I had this vision for this ranch for 28 years. It was always going to be called Rugged Cross Ranch. So when we got the ranch, our 501c3 is Rugged Cross Ranch Ministries. And I felt like the Lord told me to check the name. And I have a past as a marketing guy, so I was a vice president of marketing with Fred Meyer. I was like, oh, what are you talking about, Lord? Have you ever argued with the Lord? I have. And I said, then, Lord, Rugged Cross Ranch.
I usually argue wondering if I'm arguing with myself. Is that just a thought?
I think I was arguing with myself. So Luis Palau had a deal at Sunset Church, a ministry thing, and I was supposed to go and do a class and participate in this class. But it got canceled. So I was sitting up in the main sanctuary there, and Greg Steer, he's an evangelist. He was doing this thing on David and Goliath, but he's a hilarious evangelist. And he's like, we picked up 5, everyone says he picked up 5 smooth stones. He says he picked up 5 rocks, okay? And the minute he said that, I had like an epiphany. It's like 5 Rock Ranch. I knew exactly what it meant. It's not 5 rocks. It's 5 Rock Ranch because he only needed 1. And our giant is fatherlessness, and our rock is our Father's love.
Huh.
And I wrote it down and called the wife. I said, I think I got the name of the ranch. And she said, what is it? I said, 500 Ranch. I told her what it is. She goes, that's awesome. That's how we got it.
Huh.
So it stands for David and Goliath, and our giant is fatherlessness. Our rock is our Father's love. And it's 5 rock instead of 5 rocks because you only need 1.
Interesting.
Yeah. That easy?
Yeah. I'm glad I asked because I didn't realize there's a deeper connection behind that. So one of the questions obviously I want to ask is how people can help or get involved. I think you mentioned that all the ways people can get involved. People can help either by being volunteers or by donating. I'm sure you would not turn money away for things.
Nope. Time, talent, or treasure.
Yeah. And then what does the future of the organization look like?
Well, can I stick on the volunteer thing?
Yeah, actually.
Right now, we're looking for like 4 tradespeople, meaning electrician, plumber, handyman, contractor, who will give us 1 month a day, 1 day a month, meaning, because we are short-handed. My son Josh runs the facility, and he does an amazing job. What we do is when we have electrical problems, we just like make a list, and if that electrician comes out 1 time a month, we just give them that list and they get it done. So we're really praying and searching for skilled labor that'll give us 1 day a month, like 6 hours days, nothing crazy. So we need that. And we're looking for another dairy handler. We're looking for someone for the kitchen that really has a heart for a kitchen ministry. Like, I love what Five Rock's doing, and I want to be a part, and kitchen's my thing. So I just wanted to plug those 2 things if I could. The future of Five Rock Ranch, it's great. I'm 69. In 6 years, I'm going to be 75. My wife's going to be 72. My kids, who are in the ministry, are going to be 50. So in the next 6 years, we're looking for someone who has the same kind of DNA for fatherlessness, who have a missionary heart. Living at the ranch is like being a missionary. You're living with the people you're helping. It's not an international missionary, but we're domestic missionaries. And you're 100% live by faith. So we're looking for people that would have that heart. So if anybody has that, we're looking to some seminaries and some things for people like that, but they don't have to have a seminary background. The other thing is we're putting together this new structure that we have. So we have a capital improvement. So once we have that, over 20 years, we've learned a new structure. Like, we know kind of get our sync now. And that is, we know that the residence program is going to be smaller but more intimate. So we limited to 5 families now. We learned where we had too many families, we couldn't do a good job. We know that we need to increase our housing. over the next 5 years. So we're looking to do that. So we're going to get Manland. We call it Manland. Manland will be set up. We'll be able to have eight men in the program, and then also they work on the ranch with my son. So the next short-term future is capital improvements, more staffing people, long-term look at staffing people, succession plan kind of thing. And then, what am I trying to say? A dedicated volunteer team. In other words, COVID really wiped us out like it did so many people.
Oh, yeah.
So we're recovering. It sounds silly, but we're still recovering from COVID. COVID, because we're a live-in community, they treated us like the oldest senior citizen law. So we had the strictest rules. So we had 55 people living on the ranch at that time. And so when DHS had visits, we had parent visits and things, we had to do it, set up tents out in the field, 10 feet apart, and all kinds of stuff. And we couldn't cook. We couldn't serve food out of the kitchen. So we had to redo all the cabins where the moms with a microwave and a air fryer. And that's all the cabins have. And so all of a sudden now the moms had to do their own meals, wait to them as family dinners. So we're in the transition of going back. We also had to homeschool. So we had, 32 kids, so like that. And we couldn't go to public school during COVID. It's too long to explain why, but it was just really too hard. So we had 22 volunteers that ran a homeschool. It was amazing. It was beautiful, but it wasn't something we could do long term. So now we're back at public schools. We've got to increase our staff again. Got to get capital improvements going. We have tremendous support. Like I said, it takes $500,000 a year to run the place, and people are just faithful. It's crazy. It's undeniably God. So that's kind of what the future looks like. That we don't want to get big. We think we are what we are. We want to get back. 55 people, counting the kids, is a happy number for us. We want to increase our staff by 3 more people. We want to find successors. And just pray for our capital improvements. We have some expensive capital improvements.
Yeah. The last question that I ask everyone, what gives you hope for the future of, I typically ask specifically for Newburgh, but you're a bit outside of Newburgh, which is kind of this area. What gives you hope for the future?
Boy, my answer might surprise you, but unity. I pray that, obviously as a Christian, I want that kind of unity, but I just feel like our communities need to be more united. There's so much divisiveness right now in our lives. And maybe that unity is the fact that it's okay to disagree more, but not have it be divisive. I would long to see, selfishly, I'd love to see more family. With the fatherless ministry that we have, there's so many broken families. They really, really are. So it's either more family resources, more family events, more things that promote family. I deal with broken families 90% of my life. And when I see, I know you're a family business and so forth, but when I see you with your family in a restaurant, you being a great dad, I go up to dad sometimes, I think I'm crazy. I'm like, thanks for being a great dad. Because I deal with so many families that don't have it. It breaks my heart when I deal with young men that don't know their dad. They never had a father figure. They don't have anybody in their life. And that goes, it's harder, but same with a daughter. Just being a man, a godly man that esteems them and encourages them and notices them and affirms them. It's lacking. It just does, because life's busy and there's no dad there. If we could get more of that in our communities, it would be life-changing.
Well, I struggle to see how that's selfish, but I certainly agree. Well, Scott, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time today. Thank you for all the work that you've done and the lives that you've taken part in helping be transformed. And great to learn more about your organization and just appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Giving Town podcast. Our mission with this podcast is to provide hope and inspiration to our community by sharing the stories of the amazing leaders here. This podcast is brought to you by my real estate team, the Joyful Roberts Group. And whether you're looking to buy or sell your home anywhere around Newburgh and beyond, we would love to serve you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter with the link in the show notes, and I'll catch you in the next episode.